Hi guys, hope I'm audible. Okay, so hope you have great yeah, talk. Last two talk is awesome. That Karthik and Kablish did a fabulous job. Particularly, I am more love with the EPBF technology, and Kablish did a great job and great detailed information about the tool. So everyone need to try it, and I recommend to use in production troubleshooting use cases. So today my talk is MongoDB performance. Sandaram gave a great introduction about me. Every day is a learning, every day is a new thing in our, particularly in our community. So I'm mostly interested in MongoDB, DevOps, and DevOps security practices in the organization. So we have 250 plus clients all over the world, and particularly we have Flipkart, Swiggy, Yulu, Nykaa. We are helping our customer to scale their database. So today agenda of the topic is introduction, MongoDB performance best practices, and MongoDB performance analysis tool. So basically, what is the takeaway of the talk is what are the best practices you need to do in MongoDB, and how can you analyze the MongoDB? How can you analyze the performance of the MongoDB? So the introduction part. Why MongoDB? Everyone know what is MongoDB. I don't like to get bored, everyone, and I'm directly going to why MongoDB. MongoDB is a highly scalable database. We have a rich feature in it. Particularly, I'm dividing this into three parts. One is sharding, replication, and sharding and replication is the core feature of MongoDB. Actually, why? Because in other database system, the sharding or sharding, particularly sharding, it can be taken into the part as a third-party plugin or third-party tool, which help to maintain the database in the sharding kind of environment. But when you're talking about the MongoDB, it is seamless. They integrate the sharding into the core system itself. That is the great feature. And when I'm talking about indexing feature, indexing, there are different kind of index. Anyway, I'm going to give a detailed information about in the upcoming slide. Indexing have a great flexibility for the developer and the administrator. Then coming to the point of aggregation. Aggregation framework is designed wonderfully with the MongoDB tool. So this all makes MongoDB is a highly scalable database in the community. So performance best practices. So I'm going to take this performance best practices into three kinds. One is schema design, indexing, and Linux tunings. One second, guys. One second. Sorry, guys. Extremely sorry. Schema design, modeling approach of RDBMS. Why I'm jumping directly to the RDBMS modeling approach? Because when I'm talking about performance design or performance oriented in the MongoDB, uh, we don't have much configuration parameter to tune in MongoDB. When I'm comparing to the basically, I parallelly work with the MySQL team also. I know the people will talk about a lot of performance tuning parameter. Um, but when you come to the MongoDB side, we don't have that kind of performance tuning parameter with MongoDB, because MongoDB is highly tuned system, it's intelligent system by birth. While creating a MongoDB itself, it is highly tuned and highly intelligent system. We don't have any parameter to tune like MySQL. We have a lot of parameter tuning in MySQL, but happily and pleasure that we don't have anything like that with the MongoDB. But we need to consider other cases. That is schema design, indexing, and way of optimizing that query. Everything will come into the picture. The people who is coming out of RDBMS system always need to understand this concept. what is MongoDB, what is the difference between other database system and MongoDB. So let's come to the topic. So when you are modeling the RDBMS system, it is quite different, as I say. So I have an idea. I have an idea to create an application. Then using that idea, you will build a system. In RDBMS, you need to define a model, like data model. Based on the data model, you need to define your application and the queries. So the data modeling will dictate your application, how you need to write a query or how you create a call to the database. That is one of the biggest bottleneck. So we have a limitation that people always in the RDBMS go for a third normalization to reduce the redundant data kind of thing. So they design the data model. Based on the data model, they write the query access pattern, how to access the query from this table or that table. So in this case, this is the biggest bottleneck. Then it's go for a production. In some point, the application will be evolved, because always business need to evolve, business evolve, the application requirement evolve, the business requirement is evolved. So you need to refactor your data model, or you need to add a new entities into the data. So then again, you need to normalize the data. Then normalizing data in RDBMS is not that easy, because in our database handling career with MyDBOps or even all my team members, every day, weekly, monthly once, we have a kind of online schema changes running into the database. Everyone is panic and waiting, but you need to do it perfectly, because downtime is not tolerable for the client. It is not an easy job in RDBMS world also. So we cannot avoid this also, because business needs to evolve, application evolve, database also evolve. But this is the problem with RDBMS. So this will create a poor performance, require downtime. This is the basic bottleneck of RDBMS modeling approach, and how it is having some limitation in this everyday growing system like this. But I'm not complaining RDBMS, because we cannot avoid RDBMS also, because RDBMS is a wonderful transaction-based engine, so we cannot avoid it. But both NoSQL world and RDBMS world is competing each other in some other way. Why? Because MongoDB is telling that I'm introducing a transaction, and MySQL is telling I'm introducing NoSQL concept into the MySQL itself. So it is all about the year by year we have an innovation into the database. We will see some stages have a mature and evolve. So modeling approach of MongoDB. So we need to develop it is little different. It is quite different when you compare to the RDBMS modeling system. In MongoDB approach, you develop the application. Based on the application, you develop your data model. So it is quite interesting, right? I have an idea. I can go and write my application, and based on the application way of writing architecture and everything, I can define my data model. So I don't have any limitation. My database is not dictating me, this is the structure you need to follow. You need to design your application queries and classes and everything. We don't have anything like that. So I can write whatever the comfortable access pattern I like to write in my application. I can define my data model. Once it is done, you are going for a production, and sometimes the same new requirement will come, business will evolve. So in this point, what I'm trying to say is design is a part of each phase of application lifetime. So if you are starting a new business or new startup, the application evolve every day. So each phases, the database also evolve. So it is evolve without seamless. That is the greatest advantage of MongoDB modeling. So here I like to share strategy of modeling. What is the strategy of modeling is? Modeling everything, we need a plan. Based on the plan only you need to execute. Without plan, you will fail sure. So as I told in the previous thing, you have a business requirement and application and queries. Under the queries, you will define a data model. I just told high level. So I'm going to separate in the 4 part. That is the goal I'm telling. So you need to understand the deep knowledge about application behavior. So I have a calculator. It is a simple calculator, or it is a simple gaming application. So you need to understand the behavior of the application. in and out of the application. What query is coming, what is read operation, what is write operation, what is update operation. You need to understand whole application behavior, then the goal 1 is done. When you are coming for goal 2, what are the code operation perform, and it is the priority. That is very important. You need to understand whether my application is a read intensive application or write intensive application. That is very, very, very important, so that the schema design can be designed based on it. Without that, you cannot go blankly and you can design it. So you need to first, you need to understand the business requirement, application behavior knowledge. Then you need to understand whether your application is a read intensive application or write intensive application. Once you understand that goal 2, you are coming for a goal 3. Based on the prediction, you need to understand the relationship between the entities and the code operation. What do you mean by entities? I have a collection, under the collection, I have a document. In MySQL World table, under the table, I have a row. Each access pattern is very important for us. Each access pattern is important for us. For example, I have an employee document. In employee document, I have an employee ID. I have an employee ID, employee name, last name, date of birth. Then I am his position. The final part is maybe I'm storing the employee skill. Is expert in Linux, is expert in MongoDB, is expert in MariaDB, is expert in Ansible, is expert in DevOps kind of practices. Okay, I'm having a skill. Then his certification, I'm storing. So how my application is going to access this information? For example, I have a dashboard. I'm displaying all employee details every day, every second in the dashboard. So whether always you access this pattern, you need to understand the relation between the entities and the code operation. So once you did it, you can finalize your data model suit to the application. You can finalize your data model suit to your application. So this is the way or strategy you need to define your data model. So I think you will get a little idea how to define, but coming slide, you will get a clear vision how we need to do. For example, in RDBS system, based on the 3 normalization, I am putting the user employee information in the 3 table. In first table, I'm storing Manoj and Malay, his email address and the job name. In the second table, I'm storing his skill based on the employee ID foreign key and matching it. And certificate name, I'm putting like this certificate is done by RHCS and the certificate number, AWS, blah, 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 something like that. So you can see the MongoDB document. It's wonderful, right? Instead of putting all the information in multiple tables, in MongoDB document, in single document, I'm storing all the information. So whenever I am accessing a Manoj information, I'm fetching all the information under the document. You can see here, this certification, right? Here actually we are having in the separate database. Separate table. In the MongoDB document, I'm having it as array. Under the array, I'm putting every certification as a embedded document. So this is some places it is an advantage, some places it is a disadvantage. I will take what is the disadvantage in the case. But you can see when I'm getting a simple I need to get the whole information of employee data. The single access, single IO operation will give all the detail of the employee information. So when you're talking about data modeling in MongoDB, there are 2 things will come into the picture. One is embedded model, another one is link reference normalized model. Embedded model is that you are putting all the required entity information, object information in single document. But in reference model, you will put only the required information which you are frequently access or frequently update or whatever based on the use case. You put that particular thing in the single document, and the reference information will be stored in the separate collection. You need to choose embedded versus link or reference normal. People call it as in different names. So I just noted here, link, reference or normalized model, whatever you can call it, in the separate model. So how can I choose, Manoj? Whether I need to choose embedded model or reference model, how can I choose it? So you need to answer 3 questions there. The question is, how frequently does the embedded data get accessed? How frequently the embedded data gets accessed? Does the embedded information change or update often? Is the data record using the embedded information? This is a layman question anyone can answer if you understand the business requirement clearly. That is the goal. I stated a goal, right? Goal 1, goal 2. In the first one thing, you need, if you understand the business requirement, you can easily answer the I need to choose the embedded or reference. If you are telling, for example, I am accessing that embedded data very frequently. That means the sub document. For example, I am accessing the certificate information of the employee very frequently. Then I can tell I will suggest that use the embedded document. So does the embedded information change or update very often? That means you are updating the array. For example, here I am having certificate information. This is embedded, right? In the certificate information, I am updating this certificate information very frequently. It is not a case. I'm just telling for an example. I'm updating the particular array of information very frequently. It is not a recommended way. We will see why it is. So I will tell whether if you are updating that array very frequently, better you go for a reference model. That is the one. So you need to take call based on the business requirement, and you need to design the schema. This is the thing. Is the data required using the embedded information? If you are pouring the employee information every time you need the certificate information of the particular employee, then you need to use the reference model, sorry, embedded model. This all question may be answered. You'll get to and understand whether you need to use the embedded model or reference model. So design pattern. So by default, MongoDB have a lot of design pattern, and they have a great, awesome blog in their website. I'm not going to explain everything here, but it is not possible, and time is the greatest concern for us. I just put it here. These are the design pattern and the use cases. Based on that, they put it into the tabular column. Maybe I just like to remember everyone. Based on the use case, you can choose the existing schema modeling, which is defined by the MongoDB. So what is the key consideration? So what are the consideration you need to do before or while doing the schema design? You need to understand your business application query pattern, design your data model, select your appropriate index. So everything need to be done properly. If you are failing in one place, your database, particularly MongoDB database, won't scale. So you need to understand your application query pattern, design your data model, and select your appropriate index. So guys, goal, that is, remember the goal. Goal one is application query pattern. Second, based on the application query pattern, you will understand that everything, and you need to define your data model. And both data model, application query is with you, you can select appropriate index. So index creation is not a simple thing. We are going to see the interesting part in upcoming slide. Then MongoDB has a flexible schema. That doesn't mean you can ignore the schema design. So the point is, people very funnily speak every day and every time when I'm going MongoDB, I mean that other database system, the DBS or engineer, they tell MongoDB is a flexible schema, you don't need to worry about it. It is not like that actually. You need to worry little. If you are doing anything wrong or if you are trying to cheat it, then then it is screwed. Because someday, after a few years and your data is growth is more than 16 GB or 15 GB, 15 TB, then this database system won't fail because of the huge number of query hitting to the database and everything. So I always prioritize to use the embedded model, because reference model have some costlier places also. So try to use embedded, but it is all about the use cases what you are having. So another thing is, don't afraid to put application level joins. It's not database level join, application level join. If you have indexed properly and the projection condition is proper, then application join is not much expensive job done in the database system. Okay, great. This is the place I'm telling that array. If you are having an array and it is growing unbound, it is in my MongoDB consulting experience, most of the client is affected by this, because they excited about array and they are using array in every places, but they forget array has some limitation. They put all the information very frequently. They update, they insert, they delete. All the operation will be done inside the array. It is not good, guys. It is very, very bad. So outbound means MongoDB, everyone know the MongoDB's document size is 16 MB. So if the array is growing and you are doing very frequent operation on the array, the index performance also fall down. That is very important thing. The traversal of the index will be affected more. Even though I have an index, people will tell that my index performance is low. The two things you need to check is whether they are using array and how frequently the guys is hitting the array, and then parallelly the index performance need to go down. Avoid lookup. If you have a reference modeling in your collection, then you cannot avoid lookup, but try to avoid lookup in major cases. And guys, very important, people will laugh regarding this, the whole MongoDB DBA. I always recommend, when I'm going for a consulting, I went a lot of clients like B2B clients, business to business model clients. What they will do, they have 1,000 clients, they have 1,000 collection. It is not recommended. Why? Because when you are starting your MongoDB, the WireTiger engine will warm up, right? In that time, the WireTiger will read all the files. For example, every collection is file. So every collection have underscore ID, right? That also one file. So if you have 5 collection in 5 collections for one, 5 index for 5 collection, one collection. So calculate it. So all the file need to be read by the WireTiger. Then automatically the WireTiger cache will be aggressively sucked. So you need to understand, you need to avoid the collection, number of collection. By default, MongoDB have a limitation for replica set 1,000 collection build. After the 1,000 collection, they are in documentation itself, they are suggesting don't go beyond it. But what we are telling is try to use less number of collection. If you have a good schema, based on the business requirement, sure you can achieve it. So if you have unused collection, unused index, please drop it. People may think, what is you see, every MongoDB have a test collection, text database and the collection. So people, what is the use? It need to be that, don't worry. You need to worry, buddy, because that is anyway, it's going to use some amount of RAM. Some amount of RAM. It is also needed by some cases, right? When OMM trigger and kill the MongoDB, in that case, maybe that test database and the index may be used for some, index memory will be used for some cases. And so don't just pass away anything. You need to consider every important factor. And I also recommend to avoid underscore ID. Why? Because underscore ID is a 12 byte. It is too large according to my suggestion. Because you can use a simple unique ID instead of going for it. Because when you are using underscore ID, by default, MongoDB will create index for underscore ID. It is also going to occupy space in memory. It is also going to occupy space in the system disk. So please consider this. And this all the recommendation. This is not a holistic solution. You need to understand your business requirement again. You need to use the recommendation. And very interesting point next is optimization of key. When you are defining, I can take it RDBMS. When you are defining RDBMS, there will be a schema file separate, and the value will be stored on the separate file, IDB file or something. In MongoDB, right, every document have their own schema inside the document itself. So if I'm having first name FIRSTNAME name, then the whole character will store in the particular document. It will increase the space, because whoever the developer, they may know every document you are going to pass a schema information and you are inserting data. So MongoDB store the redundant information in every document. First name Manoj, first name Kapilesh, first name Karthi. So the first name is the space, don't forget it. If you are reducing, for example, instead of first name, what I suggest is FN is more than enough, because you are a developer, you are a system, you have a proper documentation, you can know what is the FN is. FN is a first name, no worries. So instead of this many characters, you are going to store. So I have a 10 million information I'm going to store in all the places. I'm going to store FN. Instead of first name, it reduces 40% of disk space. It is not that easy. I'm having 16 TB of disk. You also storing the key name. Don't forget it. That is very important point. I like to remember by everyone. So guys, I finished my indexing part, schema part. The next is indexing. In index, we have different kind of index: single index, compound index, multi-key index, and lot. So And people who is coming or newbies to MongoDB, they consider hidden index also a type of index. It is not a type, guys. It is a property. It is a property. You can create a component index with a partial index property. You can create a component index with TTL index. So these all properties. So you need to understand the difference between this. So in this, I'm not going to cover all the index and the performance metrics related to it, because I'm sure you also busted and we don't have enough time. Maybe in upcoming days, I try to do it. So I'm just going to focus on component index and how you need to do the strategy based on it. Why? Because I understand most of the people will use the single field index and component index in their day-to-day production. I better maybe focus on 80-20 rules. So I just choose this one. Sorry for not covering all the detail. Indexing strategy, you need to follow the ESR rule. Every DB or query writer will aware about the ESR rule. And use covered query as much as possible, and prefix compression, improve query performance and disk usage. So follow ESR rule in component index. So what is ESR actually? ESR equals sort and range. This rule is not for designing a query. This rule is for creating an index. That is the first point I like to give a clarity. It's known by most of everyone. If you are newbies, I like to point it down. ESR is not for query, it is for index. Particularly in single field index, when you are creating an index in single field, MongoDB, you don't need to specify the sorting. MongoDB have the intelligence, it will forward. If you have using index with ascending, but you are doing descending sort in the query, MongoDB, we don't do the bulk of block sorting. It automatically forward the query or reverse the query based on that. So you don't need to have worry about that ESR rule in the single field. But when you are creating a component index, I recommend to consider the ESR rule other than the exceptional use cases. So always we need to put a equality first to avoid the in-memory blocking. If people fail to follow the ESR guideline, according to my understanding, other than the exceptional use case, you will always saturate, or you will always utilize the more than recommended. I mean your recommended system to resource consumption. That's what I'm trying to say. So maybe this diagram or this tree will help you understand much better. So guys, so I have a document there, right? I'm just going to use this tree chart to understand much better. So you see, I have a query, role MongoDB, experience greater than 5, and I'm going to sort the result based on the location. So you can see that I have created an index here. I have created an index, but the query is something without understanding my business requirement and query, I have created a wrong index. I'm sorting a location, right? But what I did is, instead of putting a location in second place, I put the experience and I created the index. Okay, how the index will work, how the query and the index performance will fail us to achieve the query performance. So the query, you know that I'm doing it. So the query result, you are comparing equality check, then you are doing experience as greater than 5, the range is coming, and sorting is happening lost. The answer is not sorted here because in the index, I mean, because the final part is the range. So it is arranged in some order and the key tree. So you can see that Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Bangalore. So according to MongoDB, Chennai, Hyderabad is the result I'm going to do. But what I did is the sorting is happening on the blocking places. Blocking sort, everyone know that MongoDB have a special buffer for when you are using sort, which is not sorted in index. So it will allocate a 35 MB of memory size. All the result will be following to it, and the sorting algorithm will be performed on the buffer. So in that place, your memory and the CPU cycle will be wasted. So if you come to this slide, next slide, I created a same query, but I'm creating index in proper ESR role, role, location, and experience. while in the location part of tree itself, indexing itself, the answer is sorted. I'm not going to allocate 35 MB of buffer, and I'm not going to spend my CPU cycle and memory on the sorting.
Manoj, we are running out of time. Let's try to wrap it up as early as possible.
So sorting. So here I have overcome the overcome. You can see what mono. This is a simple thing, right? 35 MB is not fun. But see, guys, when you are handling a large concurrency system, you are getting very high concurrency queries to the system, connection to the system. 35 MB is too large, guys. So we cannot waste it. So this is the quite good example to understand how, if you are do your ESR kind of based indexing, and how it help, and it's good actually. Index consideration. Index creation in foreground will do collection log. Yeah, right. So basically what people will do as a DBA or DB database engineer in MongoDB handling, people will take a non-traffic hours, or maybe take a downtime to create an index in background. But guys, maybe you are not maybe not informed that when you are creating background index, your index traversal efficiency will be decreased. But when you are creating index, I know that the collection level locking will be happen. I understand, but it is vice versa. If you can do collection locking, the index traversal will be much better than the background index creation. If you are doing background index creation, sure guys, you will have some disefficiency in the index travel. In MongoDB 4.2, MongoDB introduced, not introduced, they totally reconstructed the indexing system. They totally reconstruct the indexing system, and the new method of index creation in 4.2, actually you don't need to tell it is a foreground, or while creating index, you don't need to tell it is a foreground or background. By default, MongoDB will create an index in background, and it overcome the inefficiency of the locking problems, everything. And I also recommend developer to write a covered query and with proper projection condition. I'm not telling always you can write, but I'm recommending try to consider, if you're querying some document or multiple document, you know that you don't record all the information from the document, you can use the projection in the query. So if you have a proper query, that you can create appropriate index based on the query. If you have appropriate index, so you don't need to go for a key document examine. So key document examine, I will explain little later. So the point is, what did you mean by covered query, Manoj? The answer is, you see, the index is like this. I have a Manoj in this use case. So in this case, I'm telling that I'm creating index for role, location, and experience. So I have an index. In the index, how it it will have a single link kind of connection between the actual document. So when you are accessing the index also have a relationship between the actual document also. So if the index have some field value, like I have a value of role and I have a location experience. If you're also accessing the information of job name, then the MongoDB will wait and it will go and access the document information of the particular key and value, and it will produce the result. But in all the cases, you are not requesting that other information which is present in the document. You can tell, I need only this information. Using the projection condition, you can specify it, and you can use all the information in the index. So nothing will be travel to the actual document and access the data. This is the one important thing people need to understand. And always use index to sort the result and avoid blocking. We already saw it. And try to do your MongoDB audit very regularly, and try to understand what is happening and everything. So that, why I'm telling this point is, so that you can understand how the index usage is happening, how the collection, which is the hottest collection, and how it is performing, everything you can come into the picture. So you can, if you have a regular audit, you can consider this index is not used properly. So we can refactor that index, or you can see some unused indexings in MongoDB. So you can drop the index. You can do such kind of action in the database. So simple layman term, you can remove duplicate and unused index from the database. It helps to improve the disk throughput and the memory optimization. The final part is in MongoDB, right? We have a lot of operator. People will confuse this operator is a equality operator or range operator according to the ESR policy. So you can usually find that you see $NE, $not in, regex, or $in, or range operator. It is not equality operator. If you are writing a query and you are putting not equal to in the first place, and you are also creating in same way, then you think you are not follow the ESR rule. But you believe not equal to is equality operator, but not equal to is a range operator. So how can, Manoj, we have a lot of operator, lot of function and everything in MongoDB MQL query language. So how can I find it? When you're running a explain plan, you can get min and max value. So when you see the execution static and see this is operator and it is using min and max, that means if it is falling under the min and max parameter, that means the particular operator is a range operator. It is not a equality operator. So prefix compression and how it is going to help the query performance and disk usage. So when you are creating a low cardinality value index, it will actually harm the index. So if I have a 6 kind of value in my collection in a document, I have a 50% sex and 50% male and 50% female. When you are doing an index and you are running a query, actually you don't get, and you don't actually you don't use the full credibility of the index, because the cardinality value is 50% ratio won't help you.
Have a watch at the time, please.
Sorry, Sandam.
Yeah, have a watch at the time. We are running short.
So the next thing is, so you need to use the partial index in some cases. So you need to use so you need to use high cardinality value as a prefix, and second you need to use the low cardinality value. It will help in some cases, but I don't tell that it will increase the performance or it. But when you are using a compound index with high cardinality and low cardinality value, it will decrease the disk space some value. It will decrease the disk space, and the performance also little bit improve. So then the final part is Linux tuning, guys. So these are the parameter you need to tune your Linux, and it's known by everyone. I just like to remember it. Particularly, you need to allocate. Kablesh covered a lot of subsystem, right? The same kind you need to see the Linux system also. This swappiness, dirty page ratio, it's everything as virtual memory subsystem. Because nowadays everyone is using cloud environment, and even though if it is a data center model, they are using SSD only. So in SSD model, the flushing of data from the dirty page from the disk to memory to the disk, you can increase to dirty page ratio 15 and 5. So I'm not going to talk about more about what is the parameter and how it is going to work, but these are the parameter I'm recommending you need to use in your standardizing your MongoDB. Numa, particularly Numa is known by all DBM. Numa is it's a wonderful technology, but our database is not ready for up to the mark. So you need to disable the Numa for MongoDB. This is the command, and I in all the slide I gave what is the persistent kind of thing or temporary. IO scheduler also important thing. When you are using SSD kind of disk, you don't need to tell other scheduler like Dateline or CFQ. Noop is more than enough, and you can specify the Noop scheduler in the MongoDB and Linux disk scheduler method. And because when you are telling Noop, right, SSD have their own scheduling algorithm. Every vendor of SSD have their own scheduling algorithm. It is far better than the software-based scheduling algorithm. And transparent huge page. MongoDB or every database other than some other proprietary database. A lot of open source database always use the smaller page size. So transparent use page is not required for database kind of thing. In MongoDB also same cases, you can disable the transparent use page. And open file limit. Open file limit is a wonderful thing, but people forget to change this, because in Linux, right, everything is file. With even your disk, even your file, your network card, your screen, everything is a file. So when you are starting a MongoDB process, you need to configure the open file limit. You need to configure in two places. If you are using systemd based process, you need to configure in the systemd service file also. If you are using init process, limit.conf is more than enough. But if you are using systemd process, you need to use both system MongoDB service file as well as in the limit file. And I also shared a few network stacks parameter you need to do. Guys, so we traveled that schema design index strategy. Then I'm not going to take more time, guys. I'm going to finish it, so don't worry for the panelists. So MongoDB performance analysis explain plan. I have given in my last meetup the detailed talk about what is explain plan, how it is work, and everything. I also attached the link in my final slide. So I'm not going to discuss more about this, but very few things. I told, right, when it is a covered query, when you are giving a DB collection name, find, and explain plan, you will get lot of metric. I'm just going to cover these 4 things. So you can tell it is a column scan or index scan, and n written key examined doc examined is same. So for example, if I'm getting more key examined and 0 doc examined, I'm getting the same key examined doc examined same, then it is a covered query. So whatever the query is required, all the information is fetched from the index itself. This is a simple example. If I have more key examined, if I have a 500 key examined and I have 1,000 doc examined, then the index's performance is some way degraded. You need to understand, you need to troubleshoot it. This is the few things you need to understand. And another tool, guys, mtool. Mtool is a wonderful thing. You need to use it. I recommend to use in your MongoDB everyday production life. You can filter the log. You can get a lot of information. I know that, and everyone know that as a MongoDB DBA, MongoDB log file is a place MongoDB write everything what it is doing. So MongoDB log file is very important for troubleshooting. So using this tool, you can easily narrow down the issue. For example, I have a log file. I need to take the slow log, and I need to do some performance tuning of the slow log. You can directly import the slow log, and you can import to the database collection itself. Those are the few examples to do it. For log info, you can check what are the queries are running slow, what is the query pattern, what is the mean time, max time, how many time it is run on the particular log file. You can get all the details from info. And RS restart, RS state, or RS state is if your MongoDB is very frequently changing its connection replica state, you can check through the this parameter. Connection from what are the IP I'm getting the connection, you can use the mlog info, MongoDB log -- connection. So final part is Keyhole. So Keyhole is a very wonderful tool. Basically, when I use this is if I'm going for a consulting for some client, first thing I will do, basically they will give a detailed intro, how the system, application, everything. But as myself, if I need to understand more detail in the performance wise, Keyhole is my holistic solution, guys. So it will give the very detailed information. I'm just going to stop the screen sharing, and I'm going to open other one.